"Get her at any cost, Carter," Grant Holloway police officer shouted. "I don't care what she's driving tonight. She gets out of that car." Carter turned toward him. "Sir, she's not running. She will." The patrol cruiser surged forward on Pine Hollow Parkway. Red and blue lights bounced off the wet road. Ahead, a black Bugatti W16 Mistral moved under the streetlights, low and clean, its taillights sharp in the dark. But Holloway had already made up his mind. Carter checked the mounted laptop. 42 in a 45. She's under the limit. Holloway's jaw tightened. "Run the plate." Carter typed fast. The plate came back registered. No flags. No warrants. No stolen vehicle report. "It's clean," Carter said. "Vehicles registered to Maya William." Holloway gave a short laugh. "Of course it is." Carter looked at him. "What does that mean?" "It means somebody put her name on paper." The Bugatti's right signal blinked. Maya William was slowing down, aiming toward the next lit area. Carter could see it clearly. "She's pulling over," he said. "No," Holloway snapped. "She's choosing the stage." Carter felt his stomach tighten. He had been riding with Holloway for 3 months, long enough to know when a stop was about the law and when it was about something darker. Holloway did not watch Maya's car like an officer tracking danger. He watched it like a man insulted by its existence. A young black woman in a $1 million convertible. That was the violation in his mind. Inside the Bugatti, Maya kept both hands steady on the wheel. She had seen the cruiser pull out behind her 2 miles back. At first, she thought it would pass. Then the lights came on. Then the cruiser closed the distance. She checked her speed. 4-2. She checked the lane. She replayed the last intersection in her mind. No red light. No rolling stop. No illegal turn. Still, she did not panic. Maya William was 28 years old, and she had learned early that panic could be used against you. Her mother had taught her to keep her hands visible. Her father had taught her to keep her voice steady. Her job had taught her that the truth needed witnesses, so she did what every cautious driver was told to do. She slowed down, turned on her signal. Looked for light. Half a mile ahead, the sign for Hawthorne Fuel and Market glowed through the mist. Cameras, windows, people. She would stop there. Behind her, Holloway grabbed the radio. "Dispatch, Unit 17. I'm in pursuit of a black Bugatti W16 Mistral on Pine Hollow Parkway. Driver, refusing to stop. Possible stolen vehicle." Carter snapped his head toward him. "That's not true." Holloway did not even blink. Carter lowered his voice. "She's signaling. She's slowing down." Holloway kept one hand on the wheel and the other near the radio. "You want to write the report, rookie?" Carter went quiet. A few seconds later, a woman's voice came over the radio. It was Dispatcher Elena Ruiz, calm but firm. "Unit 17. Plate comes back valid. Vehicle is legally registered. Owner has no criminal record. Requesting you terminate pursuit due to dangerous speed." Carter exhaled. "You heard her. She's clean. We need to back off." Holloway reached down and turned the radio off completely. The car fell into a hard silence, broken only by the siren and the tires cutting across wet pavement. Carter stared at him. "Sir?" Holloway looked straight ahead, his face cold and certain. "Dispatch isn't here, I decide." That was the moment Carter knew this was no longer a traffic stop. Ahead, Maya saw the cruiser's lights flash harder in her mirror. The siren barked once, then stayed on. The patrol car was too close now. Her phone sat in the cup holder, connected to the Bugatti's system. One touch could call her office. One sentence could change everything. Special Investigator Maya William, State Civil Rights Commission, Federal Civil Rights Liaison. If she said that now, Holloway might back off. He might smile. He might pretend this was a misunderstanding. And tomorrow night, he would do it again to someone without a title. Maya's thumb hovered near the emergency contact button. Then she moved her hand back to the wheel. "Not yet," she whispered. She thought of her father, Henry William, standing in his old garage with oil on his hands and a Bugatti picture taped above his workbench. He had never owned anything close to one. He had repaired old pickup trucks, family sedans, delivery vans, and tired engines that coughed through Georgia summers. But he loved machines that were built with care, A good engine doesn't need to scream to prove it has power, he used to tell her. When Maya bought the Bugatti, people saw money. She saw her father. She saw every late shift her mother worked as a nurse, every scholarship form, every courtroom where families cried because nobody believed them. Every door she had been told was not built for her. The car was hers. The road was public, and Holloway had no right to hunt her for either one. She pulled into Hawthorne Fuel and Market slowly, and chose the pump closest to the front windows. A man in a Braves cap stopped pumping gas. A woman in a minivan looked up from her phone. The clerk inside leaned toward the glass. Maya put the Bugatti in park. The cruiser stopped behind her with a sharp jerk. Holloway threw his door open. Carter stepped out more slowly. His hand hovered near his belt, not because Maya looked dangerous, but because Holloway did. Holloway marched toward the Bugatti with one hand on his holster. Maya watched him in the side mirror. Her heart was beating hard now, but her face stayed calm. He stopped at her door and blasted his flashlight into her eyes. "Step out of the car." Maya blinked once. "Officer, can you tell me why I was stopped?" "You can ask questions when I tell you to. I am complying. My hands are visible." I said step out. Carter moved closer. "Sir, maybe we should." Holloway cut him off. "Stand back." Maya opened the door slowly from the outside, keeping one hand visible. The Bugatti's interior light came on. The cream leather, the polished controls, the silent dashboard, all of it looked too clean for the violence of the moment. She stepped out into the damp night. Holloway looked her up and down. "You expect me to believe this is your car?" Maya met his eyes. "It is my car." Holloway smirked. "Sure it is." The man in the Braves cap shifted uneasily by his truck. The woman in the minivan lowered her window an inch, then thought better of it and raised it again. Maya knew that silence. It was the silence of people who saw wrong happening and hoped someone else would stop it. Holloway grabbed her wrist. "Turn around." "For what reason?" "For my safety. I have made no threat." He twisted her arm behind her back. Pain shot through her shoulder, but she did not cry out. Carter stepped forward. "Sir." "She's calm." Holloway snapped the first cuff around Maya's wrist. "Calm people lie too." The second cuff clicked shut. Holloway leaned close enough for only her to hear. "You picked the wrong county to show off in." Maya looked straight ahead at the gas station window. She could see her own reflection. Young, black, cuffed, standing beside a car people assumed she had no right to own. Then she looked at Holloway. "Officer," she said quietly, "I hope you understand that every choice has a record." Holloway laughed. "Not out here. It doesn't. But inside the Bugatti, beneath the dashboard, a tiny security light blinked once. The car had detected the forced lock sequence. The doors had been opened under restraint conditions. The owner had been separated from the vehicle. Without a sound, the Bugatti's valet mode activated. Its cameras woke up. Its microphones began recording. And while Holloway stood in the gas station lights believing he controlled the night, the truth had already started saving itself. The radio stayed silent. Carter noticed it before anything else. No dispatcher checking on the pursuit. No supervisor asking for location. No warning from Elena Ruiz. No official voice cutting through the night to remind Holloway that the Bugatti was legally registered and that the woman standing in handcuffs had no criminal record. Holloway had shut all of that off. Now there was only him. Maya stood beside the Bugatti, with her wrists locked behind her back. The cuffs were too tight, but she kept her shoulders straight. She knew pain could change a person's face. She knew fear could be mistaken for guilt. She gave Holloway nothing he could use. Carter watched her closely. She was not yelling, not cursing, not resisting. She looked like someone who understood the rules better than the man enforcing them. Holloway stepped back and pointed toward the front of the car. "Move." Maya looked at him. "Where?" "To the hood." "I will comply." "Then move." She walked slowly to the front of the Bugatti. Holloway grabbed her elbow anyway, as if she had tried to run. Carter saw it. The man in the Braves cap saw it. The woman in the minivan saw it. The clerk inside the gas station saw it, but nobody said a word. Maya stopped at the hood. Holloway pushed her forward until her hip touched the car. "Spread your feet." She obeyed. Carter cleared his throat. "Sir, she hasn't done anything aggressive." Holloway turned his head. Did I ask you? No, sir. Then learn something. Carter shut his mouth, but his eyes moved to Maya's wrists. The cuffs were digging in. He could see the skin pressing around the metal. Holloway began patting Maya down. Fast, rough, unnecessary. He checked her jacket, her waistband, her pockets. He found nothing. Where's your license? He asked. My wallet is in my purse on the passenger seat. Convenient. It is where I keep it. Holloway leaned closer. You always this smart? Maya did not answer. That bothered him more than any insult would have. He turned to Carter. Get the purse. Carter hesitated. Do we have consent? Holloway stared at him. Carter lowered his voice. Or, probable cause? She led us on a pursuit. She drove to a lit gas station. Holloway stepped toward him. I said she led us on a pursuit. Carter looked at Maya. Her face remained calm, but her eyes were on him now. Not pleading, not begging, just watching. That made it worse. He walked to the passenger side of the Bugatti and opened the door. The interior lights came on again. The car gave a soft warning tone. Holloway snapped. Search it. Carter reached for the purse, then stopped. Sir, I can retrieve her license, but searching the whole car. Do you want to keep working in this county? Carter froze. Holloway continued, low enough that only Carter and Maya could hear. Because I can make your probationary year very short, Maya said calmly. Deputy Carter, you are allowed to refuse an unlawful order. Holloway swung back toward her. You don't talk to him. I'm stating a fact. You're in cuffs. Facts aren't your problem right now. Maya looked straight at him. They will be. Holloway's expression hardened. He took the purse from Carter and dumped it onto the passenger seat. A wallet, keys, lip balm, a folded receipt, and a small notebook spilled out. He grabbed the wallet and opened it. Maya's driver's license was inside. So were several credit cards, a medical insurance card, and a photo of an older black man standing beside a red pickup truck. Holloway glanced at the photo. Boyfriend? My father. He buy you the car? He passed away. For the first time, Carter looked away. Holloway did not. That's not what I asked. Maya's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed even. No, my father did not buy me the car. Holloway pulled out her license and shined his flashlight on it. Maya William, he read. 28. He looked from the license to the Bugatti, then back at her. You expect me to believe this? You already ran the plate. I asked what you expect me to believe. I expect you to follow the law. The words landed hard. The man in the Braves cap took one step back from his truck. The woman in the minivan stopped pretending not to watch. Carter felt heat rise in his face. Holloway smiled without humor. The law is standing right in front of you. No, Maya said. A badge is standing in front of me. There's a difference. Carter's eyes flicked toward Holloway. Wrong thing to say, he thought. Holloway shoved the license into his vest pocket instead of handing it back. You got registration? In the glove compartment. Carter. Get it. Carter opened the glove compartment. Inside was a leather folder, clean and organized. Registration, insurance, maintenance documents, everything current. He checked the paperwork twice. It matches, Carter said. Holloway did not move. What matches? The registration, insurance, VIN, everything. So the car is hers. Holloway turned slowly. Carter immediately regretted saying it that way. Holloway walked to the passenger side, snatched the folder from Carter's hand, and flipped through the pages as if the truth might change if he handled it roughly enough. It says it's hers, Holloway said. Doesn't mean it should be. Maya closed her eyes for half a second. There it was. Not a mistake. Not caution. Not police work. The reason. Carter heard it too. He looked toward the cruiser, toward the dead radio, and wished Elena Ruiz's voice would come back through the speakers and order them all to stop. But Holloway had made sure no one could interrupt him. A truck pulled into the far side of the station, then slowed when the driver saw the police lights. The driver thought better of it and left without getting gas. Maya noticed. Fear spread quietly. That was how men like Holloway kept control. Not by hiding what they did, but by doing it in a way that taught witnesses to look away. Holloway tossed the registration folder back into the car. I smell something. Carter looked up. Sir? You heard me. Carter's stomach dropped. I don't smell anything. Holloway gave him a warning look. Then, your nose is broken, Maya said. There is nothing illegal in my vehicle. We'll see. You have no lawful reason to search my car. Holloway stepped close enough that Maya could feel his breath near her ear. You still don't understand where you are. I know exactly where I am. Then you should know better than to test me. Maya turned her head just enough to meet his eyes. I'm not testing you, Officer Holloway. I'm documenting you. For 1 second. His face changed. Not fear. Recognition. He had not told her his name. Carter noticed it immediately. Holloway recovered fast, but not completely. His hand moved toward the nameplate on his uniform, as if checking whether she could have read it. Maybe she had. Maybe she hadn't. How do you know my name? He asked. Maya said nothing. Holloway's voice sharpened. I asked you a question. Maya looked toward the front window of the gas station. I would like to speak to an attorney. Holloway laughed. You watch too much television. I am invoking my right to counsel. You're invoking nothing until I say you are. Carter shifted. Sir, she can ask for a lawyer. Holloway spun on him. Get back to the cruiser. Carter did not move. Holloway stepped closer. Now. Carter walked back, but every step felt wrong. He opened the passenger door and leaned inside. The radio was still off. The screen was dark. He looked at the switch. For 1 second, his fingers hovered near it. Then Holloway's voice cut across the lot. Don't touch that radio. Carter froze. Holloway was watching him from beside the Bugatti. Maya was watching too. Carter pulled his hand back. Holloway smiled. That's what I thought. He turned back to Maya and raised his voice for the witnesses. Driver refused to stop, acted suspiciously, failed to provide a clear explanation for possession of a high-value vehicle, and possible narcotics odor detected. Maya stared at him. You are building the report out loud. I'm stating facts. No, she said. You're rehearsing. Carter lowered his eyes. Because she was right. Holloway moved toward the cruiser, opened the rear door, and pointed inside. Put her in. Carter looked up. We're taking her in? Holloway smiled. Now, you're learning. Maya did not fight, as Carter guided her toward the cruiser. His grip was careful, almost apologetic. When Holloway walked ahead of them, Carter whispered, I'm sorry. Maya did not look at him. Sorry won't matter later, she said. The truth will. If your heart tightened, seeing Maya stay calm in that moment, hit like to let her know there are still people out there who believe in the truth. And leave a comment telling me what city, state, or country you're watching from. Because who knows, someone close to you may be watching this story right now, feeling the same thing you are. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to witness the truth for it to never be buried. Carter swallowed. He helped her into the back seat, making sure she did not hit her head on the door frame. Holloway noticed and rolled his eyes. Gentlemen now. Carter stepped back. Holloway slammed the rear door shut. Maya sat behind the cage, wrists still cuffed, posture straight. Through the window, she could see the Bugatti under the gas station lights. Its small security light blinked on the dashboard. Once, twice, still recording. Holloway walked around to the driver's side, opened his door, and got in. Carter returned to the passenger seat. The radio remained off. Holloway started the cruiser and pulled out of the gas station. Behind them, the Bugatti stayed parked by pump 3, silent and awake. Maya looked through the partition at the back of Holloway's head. He thought he had taken control by turning off the radio. He thought he had buried the dispatcher's warning, the clean registration, the legal ownership, and the fact that she had tried to stop safely. But the night was not empty. The witnesses had seen, Carter had heard, and the car had remembered. The cruiser rolled away from Hawthorne Fuel and Market with Maya in the back seat and the radio still dead. Carter sat in front, staring through the windshield, but he was not really watching the road. He kept hearing Elena Ruiz's voice in his head. Vehicle is legally registered. Owner has no criminal record. Terminate pursuit due to dangerous speed. Then he heard Holloway's answer. Dispatch isn't here, I decide. Carter had heard officers bend facts before. He had heard old deputies joke about creative wording in reports. He had watched supervisors tell young cops that confidence mattered more than hesitation, but this was different. Holloway had turned off the radio after a lawful warning. He had ignored a clean plate. He had forced a woman out of her car without cause. He had taken her license, searched her purse, and started building charges before he had evidence. Carter glanced at the rearview mirror. Maya sat behind the cage with her wrists cuffed behind her. Her posture was straight. Her face was calm. That calm bothered him because it did not feel like surrender. It felt like patience. Holloway drove fast, one hand on the wheel, the other tapping against his thigh. He had not said much since they left the gas station, but his silence was not regret. It was calculation. Maya finally spoke. "Officer Holloway, I need my cuffs loosened. They are cutting into my wrists." Holloway did not answer. Carter looked back again. He could see her fingers. They were tense, pressed tight from the angle of the cuffs. "Sir," Carter said, "we can adjust them when we get to the station." Holloway kept driving. "She'll live," Maya said. "I am making a medical request. You're making noise." Carter shifted in his seat. "Sir, if she says they're too tight, policy says." Holloway snapped his head toward him. "You want to quote policy to me tonight?" Carter went quiet. Maya looked out the side window. Pine Hollow gave way to smaller homes, closed storefronts, dark churches, and empty parking lots. Claiborne County looked different from the back of a patrol car. Smaller, colder, built out of locked doors and people pretending not to see. She had reviewed complaints from this same road. She knew the addresses. She knew the names. Calvin Brooks, stopped after leaving a veterans fundraiser. Denise Harris, pulled over after a parent-teacher conference. Marcus Reed, accused of having drug money because he carried cash from his auto shop. And now Maya William, handcuffed in the back of Unit 17 because Grant Holloway saw a black woman in a Bugatti and decided she needed to be humbled. Her mother called again. The phone was no longer with her. Holloway had taken it and turned it off, but the missed call would still be there later. Maya pictured Evelyn standing in her kitchen in Macon, one hand on the counter, chicken and dumplings cooling on the stove, worrying because her daughter had not arrived. Maya hated that part most. Not the cuffs, not Holloway's smirk, not even the humiliation at the gas station. She hated that men like Holloway did not just hurt the person they stopped. They sent fear into kitchens, living rooms, churches, hospital break rooms, and late-night phone calls. They made mothers wait by windows. They made families rehearse prayers they should never have to know. She closed her eyes for a moment. "Daddy, I'm still steady." That was the only first-person thought she allowed herself. Then she opened her eyes. Holloway turned onto County Service Road, heading toward the sheriff's department. Carter cleared his throat. "Sir, are we documenting the radio issue?" "What? Radio issue?" The dispatcher advised termination. Holloway gave a short laugh. "Radio cut out." Carter stared at him. "It didn't cut out. It did in my report." The words landed in the cruiser like a warning. Maya watched Carter's shoulders stiffen. She could not see his face clearly, but she saw the moment he understood the trap forming around him. Holloway continued. "You heard me call the pursuit. You saw her fail to stop immediately. You saw nervous behavior. You smelled what I smelled." Carter said nothing. Holloway looked at him. "Correct?" Carter swallowed. "I didn't smell anything." "You will." Maya leaned forward slightly, as much as the cuffs allowed. "Deputy Carter, be careful. The first false sentence is always the one that owns you." Holloway slammed the brakes at a red light. Carter jerked forward against his seatbelt. Maya stayed still. Holloway turned halfway around. "You don't talk to him." Maya met his eyes through the cage. "Then stop trying to recruit him into a crime." For a second, nobody spoke. The light turned green. Holloway drove on. Claiborne County Sheriff's Department sat behind a low brick wall near the courthouse annex. The building was not large, but it had the posture of power. Floodlights covered the parking lot. 2 patrol cars idled near the side entrance. A flag hung limp in the damp night. Holloway pulled into the sally port and parked. Before getting out, he turned to Carter. "Listen to me. You're new. That means you still have a chance to learn how this job works." Carter kept his eyes forward. Holloway continued. "People like her know how to use words. Rights, lawyers, complaints, racism, all of it. They push until you hesitate. Then they own the street, Carter said. She was driving under the speed limit. Holloway's voice dropped. She was driving a car she had no business driving in a place she had no business being. Don't be stupid. There it was again. Clearer this time. Maya heard it. Carter heard it. Holloway heard himself. And did not care. Carter opened his door and stepped out. The air in the sally port smelled like wet concrete and exhaust. Holloway got out, opened the rear door, and reached for Maya. Out. Maya moved carefully. Her wrists burned. When she stood, she flexed her fingers to keep blood moving. Carter noticed the red marks. I can loosen those now, he said. Holloway pushed past him. Inside first. Maya walked between them through the secured door. The booking area was quiet except for a copier running somewhere in the back and a television mounted high in the corner. A desk sergeant looked up from paperwork. 2 deputies near the coffee machine stopped talking. Holloway entered like a man presenting a trophy. Got one, he announced. Fleeing stop. Suspicious vehicle. Possible narcotics. Attitude from the second she saw lights. Maya said, I did not flee. Holloway ignored her. The desk sergeant, Harold Pike, looked from Holloway to Maya. He was in his late 50s, with tired eyes and a coffee stain on his uniform shirt. He had worked long enough to recognize trouble before it signed in. Name? Pike asked. Maya William, Holloway said before she could answer. 28. Claims the Bugatti is hers. Pike raised an eyebrow. Bugatti? Holloway smirked. Exactly. Maya looked at Pike. Sergeant, I am requesting counsel. I am also requesting medical review for the cuffs. Pike looked at her wrists. The skin was already marked. Holloway, Pike said. Loosen the cuffs. She's fine. Loosen them. Holloway stared at him. Pike stared back. For once, Holloway obeyed. He unlocked one cuff, adjusted it, then did the other. He made the movement rougher than necessary, but blood returned to Maya's fingers. Thank you, Maya said to Pike. Pike nodded once, then looked at Carter. Where's the vehicle? Hawthorne Fuel, Carter said. Pump 3. Pike frowned. You left a Bugatti at a gas station? Holloway said. Scene's secure enough. Maya looked at Carter. It is not secure. My vehicle needs to be preserved exactly as it was left. Holloway laughed. Now she's giving orders. Maya did not raise her voice. No. I'm protecting evidence. The word made Pike pause. Holloway heard it too. His eyes narrowed. Evidence of what? He asked. Maya looked directly at him. Your choices. Carter felt the room tighten. Holloway stepped closer. Booker. Pike did not move. On what charge? Fleeing. Obstruction. Suspicion of narcotics. Suspicion isn't a charge. Holloway's face hardened. It will be. By the time I finish the report. Maya turned slightly toward Carter. He knew what she was doing. She was letting everyone hear Holloway build the lie in real time. Pike leaned back in his chair. He was no hero. He had looked away from things before. Most men in that building had. But there was something about Maya's stillness. Something about Carter's pale face. Something about Holloway's eagerness that made old instincts stir. Carter, Pike's, write your supplemental. Holloway cut in. He'll write it with me. No, Pike said. Separate. Holloway stared at him. Since when? Since I said it. The 2 deputies by the coffee machine looked down into their cups. Maya watched all of it. Small cracks. Not justice yet. Not even close. But cracks mattered. Cracks were where light entered. Holloway pointed toward a holding bench. Sit her down. Carter guided Maya to the bench. This time, his hand barely touched her arm. When she sat, he bent slightly and whispered, I don't know what to do. Maya looked up at him. Yes, you do. Carter held her gaze for a moment, then stepped back. Holloway walked to a side desk, grabbed a blank incident form, and began writing fast. His pen pressed so hard the paper wrinkled. Maya watched him. She knew what men like Holloway trusted most. Not guns, not badges, paper, reports, statements, signatures, official language dressed around ugly intentions. But tonight, he had forgotten something. Paper could lie. People could lie. A dead radio could hide a warning. But somewhere under the lights of Hawthorne Fuel and Market, the Bugatti remained awake, its cameras still holding the night exactly as it happened. And Maya knew, sooner or later, Holloway would learn that the truth had been riding with him the whole time. Holloway wrote like a man trying to get ahead of the truth. His pen moved fast across the incident form. Too fast. He did not pause to remember. He did not check times. He did not ask Carter for details. He simply built the version he needed. Driver failed to stop. Driver acted nervous. Driver questioned lawful orders. Possible narcotics odor. Possible stolen high-value vehicle. Maya watched from the holding bench with her wrists resting in her lap. The cuffs had been loosened, but the red marks were still there. She flexed her fingers once, then stopped. She did not want Holloway to see the pain. Sergeant Pike remained behind the desk, pretending to review paperwork, but his eyes kept moving from Holloway to Carter, then back to Maya. He knew something was wrong. Everyone in that room knew something was wrong. The only question was who would admit it first. Holloway tore the first page from the pad and shoved it toward Carter. "Read it." Carter took the paper. His eyes moved down the report. The first sentence alone made his throat tighten. At approximately 2,342 hours, suspect vehicle failed to yield to emergency lights and siren, initiating a pursuit on Pine Hollow Parkway. Carter looked up. She signaled. Holloway did not look at him. "Keep reading." Carter read the next line. Suspect vehicle accelerated toward Hawthorne Fuel and Market in an attempt to evade officers. Carter's voice dropped. She didn't accelerate. Holloway finally turned. "You measuring now?" She slowed down. "You saw what I saw." "No, sir." The room went quiet. Pike set his pen down. Two deputies near the coffee machine stopped pretending to drink. Maya looked at Carter. He was pale, but he had said it. Not loudly, not bravely, not enough to save anyone yet, but he had said it. Holloway stepped closer to him. "You want to repeat that?" Carter swallowed. "I said." She slowed down. Holloway smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "You're tired. Adrenaline does that." "I know what I saw." Holloway tapped the report with 2 fingers. "Then see it correctly." Maya spoke from the bench. Deputy Carter should write his own statements separately. Holloway turned on her. "Nobody asked you." Sergeant Pike did. Pike's eyes moved to her. Maya continued, calm and controlled. "He told Deputy Carter to write his supplemental separately. That is proper procedure." Holloway gave a short laugh. "You a lawyer now?" Maya did not answer. Pike leaned back in his chair. "Carter writes his own." Holloway's face tightened. "This is my arrest. And it's my booking desk," Pike said. For a moment, Holloway looked ready to explode. Then, he lowered his voice. "Fine." He took the report back from Carter and placed it on the desk beside him. Carter moved to another table. He sat down with a blank form in front of him, but his hand did not move. Maya could see the fight happening inside him. If he wrote the truth, Holloway would come for him. If he lied, Holloway would own him. She wanted to say more, but she held back. Too much pressure could look like manipulation. Carter had to choose without being pushed across the line. Holloway walked toward the evidence counter and tossed Maya's license onto it. "Bag that." Pike frowned. "Her driver's license? Evidence. Of what?" "Identity." Pike stared at him. "That's not evidence. That's property." Holloway leaned in. "You want to run this arrest, Sarge?" Pike did not answer immediately. He looked tired. Not weak. Exactly. Just worn down by years of choosing which battles were worth the cost. Maya had seen that look before. Men and women who were not cruel, but had made peace with cruelty because fighting it every day felt impossible. Pike slid the license back across the counter. "It stays with her property, not evidence." Holloway snatched it up and walked to Maya. "Stand." She did. He held up her license. "You live in Atlanta?" "Yes." "What are you doing in Claiborne County at midnight?" "Driving to my mother's house." "In a Bugatti?" "Yes." "You expect a jury to believe that?" Maya held his gaze. "I expect the facts to show that." Holloway stepped closer. "You keep saying facts, like they're going to walk in here and save you." Maya said nothing. He lowered his voice so the others could barely hear. "You think because you've got money you can make this ugly for me? You're wrong. Around here, People know me. Maya looked past him toward Carter. People knew a lot of men before they were exposed. Holloway's eyes sharpened. What does that mean? It means reputation is not evidence. He stared at her for a long second. Then he turned and shouted toward Carter. Put in your statement that she was verbally combative. Carter looked down at his blank form. Maya said, asking for the reason for a stop is not combative. Holloway snapped. There. That tone. Pike rubbed a hand over his face. Holloway, step away from her. Holloway laughed under his breath but moved back. A phone rang at the booking desk. Pike picked it up. Claiborne booking. He listened. His eyes moved toward Maya. Yes, ma'am. She's here. Maya straightened slightly. Pike covered the receiver. Maya William? Your mother is on the line. Holloway immediately stepped forward. She doesn't get calls. Pike looked at him. She hasn't been booked. She's in custody. She's also asked for counsel and medical review. Holloway pointed at the phone. No calls until I say. Maya's face stayed controlled, but her chest tightened. Her mother, Evelyn, had been calling since the gas station. She had probably called Maya's phone first, then again, then maybe the commission office, then maybe hospitals. That was what mothers did when fear started making maps in their heads. Maya did not ask for the phone. She knew Holloway wanted her to ask. He wanted to deny her something in front of everyone. So she simply said, "Please tell her I am alive." Pike looked at her. The room became still. Even Holloway did not speak for half a second. Pike uncovered the receiver. Ma'am, your daughter is here. She is alive. He listened again. I can't discuss details yet. Another pause. Yes, ma'am. I'll tell her. He hung up slowly. Maya asked, "What did she say?" Pike looked uncomfortable. She said, "Tell my baby to keep her hands where God and cameras can see them." Maya looked down. For the first time all night, something almost broke in her face. Not fear. Love. Then she lifted her head again. "Thank you." Holloway rolled his eyes. Touching. Carter's pen finally moved. He wrote the time first. Arshasen den Sisher Arfen. Then he wrote the truth as carefully as he could. Vehicle observed traveling below posted speed limit. Driver activated turn signal. Driver proceeded toward lit gas station. Dispatcher advised vehicle registered and owner had no criminal record. Carter stopped. His hand hovered above the paper. The next sentence was the dangerous one. Officer Holloway turned off the patrol radio after dispatcher requested termination of pursuit. Carter looked up. Holloway was watching him. Carter looked back down and wrote it anyway. Maya saw the movement of his pen. She could not read the words from where she sat, but she could see the decision. Holloway saw it too. His expression changed. Carter kept writing. Holloway walked toward him. What are you putting down? My supplemental. Let me see it when I'm finished. Holloway's voice dropped. That wasn't a request. Pike stood up behind the desk. Holloway, leave him alone. Holloway turned on Pike. You got real brave tonight. Pike did not flinch. No, I just got tired. That hit the room harder than a shout. One of the deputies by the coffee machine looked away. The other left without a word. Maya understood then that Holloway's power had not come only from himself. It had come from rooms like this, from tired men, silent men, men who saw enough to know better and stayed quiet long enough to forget they had a choice. Tonight, that quiet was beginning to fail. Holloway sensed it. He grabbed Maya's property bag, opened it, and dumped the contents onto the counter again. Wallet, keys, receipt, small notebook, phone. He picked up the phone and pressed the power button. Nothing happened. You turned it off, Maya said. For officer safety. No, for silence. He ignored her and opened the small notebook. Maya's eyes narrowed slightly. That notebook contained no classified files, nothing that would expose the commission, but it did contain names, dates, patterns, fragments from interviews. It was personal fieldwork, not official evidence yet. Holloway flipped through the pages. His smirk faded. What is this? Maya did not answer. He read one name aloud. Calvin Brooks. Carter looked up. Pike's face changed. Holloway flipped another page. Denise Harris, Marcus Reed. Maya remained still. Holloway looked at her with a different kind of suspicion now. Not racial anger. fear beginning to find a shape. Why do you have those names? Maya stood silent. Holloway stepped closer, notebook in hand. I asked you a question. Maya looked at the notebook, then at him. You should put that down. Why? Because now, you're touching something you don't understand. Holloway stared at her. For the first time that night, he seemed unsure. Carter noticed. Pike noticed. Maya noticed most of all. Then the front doors opened. A woman in a dark blazer stepped into the booking area, followed by a man carrying a leather folder. Both moved with purpose. Neither looked surprised. The woman showed her credentials to Sergeant Pike. Angela Morris, State Civil Rights Commission. The man beside her opened his folder. Daniel Reyes, U.S. Attorney's Office. Holloway froze with Maya's notebook still in his hand. Angela Morris looked at Maya first, then at the cuffs, then at Holloway. Remove those cuffs from Special Investigator William. Now. The words struck the room like a verdict. Carter stopped writing. Pike stood fully upright. Holloway's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Maya looked at him, calm as ever. And in that silence, Grant Holloway finally began to understand that the young woman he had dragged in from the gas station was not the person on trial tonight. He was. Angela Morris did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Everyone in the booking area understood the weight of the badge clipped beside her identification card. The State Civil Rights Commission was not a local supervisor. It was not the sheriff's office. It was not someone Holloway could laugh off in a hallway. Daniel Reyes stood beside her, silent, holding his leather folder against his chest. Holloway still had Maya's notebook in his hand. Angela looked at it. Put that down. Holloway blinked. This is part of an arrest. No. Angela said, that is commission-related material in the possession of a state investigator. Put it down before you add mishandling official investigative notes to whatever else happened tonight. Holloway's face tightened. For 1 second, it looked like he might refuse. Then Sergeant Pike spoke. Holloway, put it down. Holloway tossed the notebook onto the counter as if it meant nothing. It meant too much. Maya watched it land beside her wallet and keys. She kept her expression still, but her eyes moved over the pages. Nothing had torn. Nothing had fallen out. Good. Angela turned to Pike. Why is Special Investigator William in cuffs? Pike looked at Holloway. Holloway answered before Pike could. She led officers on a pursuit. No, she didn't, Carter said. The words came out before he seemed ready for them. Holloway turned slowly. Carter stood near the side table, his report still under his hand. His face was pale, but he did not take the words back. Angela looked at him. Your name? Deputy Liam Carter. You were in the cruiser? Yes, ma'am. Did she lead officers on a pursuit? Carter swallowed. No, ma'am. She slowed down. She signaled. She drove to the gas station. Holloway stepped toward him. Careful, rookie. Reyes spoke for the first time. That sounded like witness intimidation. Officer Holloway. The room froze. Holloway stopped moving. Reyes opened his folder and removed a notepad. Let's all be careful with our words from this point forward. Angela turned back to Pike. Remove the cuffs. Pike nodded to Carter. Do it. Carter stepped toward Maya with the cuff key. He did not look at Holloway this time. I'm going to remove them now, he said softly. Maya nodded once. The first cuff opened. Then the second. Blood moved back into her hands in sharp waves. She kept her face steady, but Carter saw her fingers tremble once. I'm sorry, he whispered. Maya rubbed one wrist, then the other. Write the truth, she said. That will matter more. Carter stepped back. Angela moved closer to Maya. Are you injured? My wrists are bruised. My shoulder was twisted during cuffing. Angela looked at Pike. Document that. Photographs before she leaves this building. Pike nodded. Holloway gave a dry laugh. So that's how this works? She flashes a title, and suddenly everyone forgets? She refused to stop? Maya turned toward him. I did not flash a title. You found it after you brought me here. You should have identified yourself. You should have obeyed dispatch. That landed clean. Holloway's jaw clenched. Reyes looked at Carter. Dispatch? Advised termination? Carter nodded. Yes, sir. Why was the pursuit not terminated? Carter looked at Holloway, then back at Reyes. Officer Holloway turned off the radio. Reyes wrote it down. Holloway pointed at Carter. He's confused. No, Carter said. I'm not. The booking area stayed silent. Angela gathered Maya's property from the counter. She placed the notebook back inside the bag herself. Where is her vehicle? Hawthorne Fuel and Market, Carter said. Pump 3. Angela looked at Reyes. We need it preserved. Reyes nodded. No one touches that car until we have chain of custody. Holloway laughed again, but this time there was pressure beneath it. It's a car. You people are acting like it's a crime scene. Maya looked at him. It is. Holloway stared back. What's that supposed to mean? Maya did not answer. She did not need to explain valet mode. Not yet. The less Holloway knew, the more useful his next choices would be. Angela looked at Pike. Who has access to the gas station scene? Pike answered quickly. Any unit still nearby. Station employees, customers. We didn't leave a deputy posted. Angela's eyes hardened. Then send one now. Not Holloway. Not anyone connected to this stop. Pike reached for the desk phone. Holloway stepped in. That's my scene. Reyes looked up from his notes. Not anymore. Holloway's face changed. For 12 years, he had controlled scenes, reports, suspects, witnesses. Now people were taking pieces away from him in front of everyone. First the cuffs, then the notebook, then the report, now the car. He turned toward Maya. You set this up, Maya said. I drove home. In a Bugatti through Pine Hollow at midnight. In a legally registered vehicle on a public road. You wanted me to stop you. No, Officer Holloway. I expected you to follow the law. He had no answer for that. Pike spoke into the phone. Unit 12. Respond to Hawthorne Fuel and Market. Secure a black Bugatti at Pump 3. Do not enter the vehicle. Do not touch the vehicle. Wait for state investigators. He listened. Yes, I said Bugatti. He hung up. Carter looked down at his unfinished statement. His hands were still shaking. He forced himself to continue writing. Holloway turned toward him again. Carter did not stop. Angela noticed. Deputy Carter, she said. When you are finished, that statement comes directly to me and Mr. Reyes. Holloway snapped. He reports through me. Reyes closed his folder. Tonight he doesn't. Holloway's breathing changed. Maya had seen that look before in depositions. A man used to controlling the room suddenly realizing the room had doors he did not own. Angela faced Holloway. Officer Holloway, surrender Special Investigator Williams' license. Holloway's eyes flicked down. He still had it. Maya had watched him put it into his vest pocket at the gas station. Angela extended her hand. Holloway hesitated. Reyes said, Now, slowly, Holloway pulled the license from his pocket and handed it over. Angela gave it to Maya. Maya took it without comment. That silence bothered Holloway more than anger would have. Pike walked around the desk with a small digital camera used for booking injuries. Miss William, I need to photograph your wrists. Do it, Angela said. Maya held out her hands. The flash went off once, twice, 3 times. The red cuff marks appeared on the camera screen. Carter saw them and looked away. Holloway saw them and looked angry, not ashamed. Reyes noticed both reactions. Angela asked Maya, Do you want medical treatment? I want the vehicle secured first. Angela paused. Your car can wait. No, Maya said. The car may have recorded the stop. Holloway's head snapped toward her. Reyes looked at Maya, then back toward Holloway. What system? He asked. Maya kept her eyes on Holloway as she answered. Bugatti security. It may activate under forced access or owner separation. Holloway's face drained a shade. Angela understood immediately. Valet mode? Maya nodded. Possibly. I won't know until the manufacturer confirms. The room shifted again. Holloway took a step back. Only one step, but everyone saw it. Reyes wrote 2 words on his notepad. Valet mode, Maya continued. My phone was turned off. The patrol radio was turned off. But the car may have continued recording. Holloway recovered enough to scoff. That's fantasy. No, Maya said. That's engineering. Carter looked at Holloway. For the first time all night, Holloway looked afraid of something that could not be threatened. A machine, a record, a witness with no career to lose. Pike's desk phone rang again. He picked it up. Booking. He listened, then looked at Angela. Unit 12 is at Hawthorne. Vehicle is still there. Clerk says nobody touched it. They have security footage from the pump area. Reyes nodded. Tell them to preserve everything. Pike relayed the order and hung up. Maya finally allowed herself to breathe a little deeper. Not relief. Not yet. But the line of truth had not been broken. Angela turned to Holloway. You are not to contact the gas station, the responding unit, dispatch, or any witness from this stop. Holloway crossed his arms. You don't give me orders. Reyes stepped closer. Actually, Officer Holloway, I strongly suggest you start treating every sentence spoken to you tonight as something a federal grand jury may hear later. Holloway said nothing. That was the smartest thing he had done all night. Carter finished writing. He stood and handed the report to Angela. Holloway watched the paper leave Carter's hand like it was a weapon. Angela read the first few lines. Then she looked at Carter. You understand what this says? Yes, ma'am. You understand what it means? Carter looked at Holloway, then at Maya. Yes, ma'am. Angela placed the statement in her folder. Reyes turned toward Maya. Miss William, we're going to secure your vehicle, obtain the gas station video, preserve dispatch audio, and request manufacturer data. After that, we'll take your formal statement. Maya nodded. Holloway spoke through clenched teeth. And what about her charges? Reyes looked at him. What charges? Holloway opened his mouth. No one helped him. Not Pike. Not Carter. Not the deputies by the coffee machine. For the first time that night, Holloway stood alone inside his own lie. Maya picked up her property bag. She slid her notebook inside, then looked once at Carter. He looked ashamed, but he was still standing. That mattered. Angela guided Maya toward the interview room, away from the booking bench, away from Holloway, away from the place where he had expected to break her down. Before she stepped through the door, Maya stopped and turned. Officer Holloway. He looked at her. Her voice stayed calm. You turned off the radio because you thought silence would protect you. No one moved. Maya finished. But silence only protects a lie, until the truth finds another way to speak. Then she walked into the interview room. Behind her, Holloway stared at the closed door. At Hawthorne Fuel and Market, the Bugatti remained under the lights, locked, silent, and waiting. Its cameras had seen the beginning. Its microphones had heard the rest. And soon, Holloway would learn that the night he tried to control had already been saved somewhere far beyond his reach. Unit 12 arrived at Hawthorne Fuel and Market 12 minutes after Sergeant Pike made the call. Deputy Nora Fields stepped out first. She was a 20-year officer with a calm face and no patience for sloppy scenes. She saw the Bugatti parked at Pump 3, the driver's door closed, the top open, the black paint shining under the station lights. She did not touch it. She looked at the clerk through the glass and raised one hand. Anybody been near that car? The clerk shook his head hard. No, ma'am. Not since they took the woman away. Fields pointed to the security cameras under the canopy. Keep those recordings. Do not overwrite anything. Do not let anyone from the sheriff's department copy, delete, or review them without state investigators present. The clerk nodded. Yes, ma'am. A second cruiser pulled in. K9 handler Mark Benson stepped out with Ranger at his side. Ranger was a 6-year-old German shepherd with a black muzzle, alert ears, and a work harness that had seen years of roadside searches. Benson kept one hand on the leash and the other near his radio. Fields frowned. Who called K9? Benson looked toward the Bugatti. Holloway requested it before they cleared the scene. Said possible narcotics. Fields looked at the car, then back at him. We've been ordered not to touch the vehicle. I heard. I'm not touching it. Benson studied the scene. Pump 3. Wet pavement. Tire tracks. The Bugatti parked cleanly inside the lane. No sign of a reckless stop. No skid marks. No crash. Nothing that looked like a high-speed takedown. He had worked enough real pursuits to know what they left behind. This did not look like one. Ranger pulled slightly toward the Bugatti. Sniffed once, then lost interest. Benson watched him carefully. Nothing? Fields asked. Nothing on the car. Ranger turned away from the Bugatti and pulled toward the far side of the lot. Benson gave him slack. The dog lowered his nose to the ground, followed a scent line past the pump, past a small puddle, and straight toward the spot where Holloway's cruiser had been parked minutes earlier. Fields stepped closer. "What's he doing?" Benson did not answer right away. Ranger circled the empty parking spot, then moved to a set of wet tire marks. He sniffed hard, head down, tail stiff. Then he pulled sharply toward the exit lane. Benson followed. Ranger stopped at a smear of white powder near the curb. Fields crouched, but did not touch it. "That what I think it is?" Benson's face tightened. "Could be residue. Could be nothing. From Maya's car? No. Her car never came over here." Fields looked toward the empty road where Holloway's cruiser had gone. Benson understood the same thing. Ranger barked once, then again. Not at the Bugatti, at the tire marks left by Unit 17. Benson took out his phone and photographed the spot from 3 angles. Fields did the same with her department-issued camera. "Bag it?" she asked. "State investigators should do it." Fields nodded. Agreed. Benson guided Ranger back toward his K9 vehicle. The dog was still alert, still pulling toward the road. Benson opened the rear door. "Load up." Ranger jumped in, but he did not settle. He kept staring out, ears forward. At the sheriff's department, Holloway was still in the booking area when Pike's desk phone rang again. Pike answered. He listened for 3 seconds, then looked toward Angela Morris. "Fields is at Hawthorne. K9 is there too." Ranger alerted near where Unit 17 was parked. "Not on the Bugatti." Holloway's head snapped toward him. "What?" Pike kept the receiver to his ear. "They found possible residue near the tire marks." "That's impossible," Holloway said. Reyes looked at him. "Why?" Holloway opened his mouth, then closed it. Angela watched him closely. Maya sat in the interview room with the door open. She could hear enough. Her wrists had been photographed. A medic had checked the marks and noted swelling. She had given only a brief preliminary statement, just enough to preserve the timeline. When Pike repeated Ranger's alert, Maya looked down at her hands. Not victory, confirmation. Holloway had not acted alone in one moment of anger. He had a method. He had tools. He had done this before. Reyes stepped into the booking area. "Officer Holloway, did you remove anything from your cruiser during the stop?" "No." "Did you open your trunk?" "No." "Did you possess any substance used for training, testing, or evidence handling?" Holloway's face hardened. "I know what you're doing. I'm asking simple questions. You're trying to frame me." Reyes wrote that down. Holloway pointed at the notepad. "Don't write that." Reyes looked up. "You said it." Carter stood near the wall, silent. His statement was already in Angela's folder, but he knew the worst part had not arrived yet. He had seen Holloway near the trunk. He had seen the small plastic bag. He had watched Holloway move with the confidence of a man who had practiced that motion before. Angela turned to Carter. "Deputy Carter, did Officer Holloway open his trunk at the gas station?" Carter looked at Holloway. Holloway stared back with open warning in his eyes. Carter's throat moved. "Yes, ma'am." Holloway lunged 1 step toward him. "You little..." Reyes moved between them. "Take another step and we add intimidation in front of a federal officer." Holloway stopped. Carter kept going, his voice low but clear. "He opened the trunk after the search. Didn't produce anything. I saw him remove a small bag. I asked what he was doing." Angela asked, "What did he say?" Carter looked down. He said, "He was making sure the report matched the arrest." Pike closed his eyes briefly. No one in the room spoke. That sentence changed the air. Even Holloway seemed to understand it had landed somewhere he could not reach. The desk phone rang again. Pike answered, then held the receiver out toward Angela. "It's Fields. She says Benson is requesting permission to bring Ranger here. He believes the dog may alert on Holloway's cruiser if it's still in the Sally port." Angela looked at Reyes. Reyes nodded. "Bring them," Angela said. Holloway immediately shook his head. "No, absolutely not. That's my assigned unit," Reyes said. "Then you should have no concern." Holloway's breathing grew heavier. Dogs, false alert, all the time. Benson arrived 9 minutes later through the Sally port entrance with Ranger at his side. Fields followed behind him, carrying a sealed evidence bag containing the residue sample from the gas station curb. Ranger entered the building, focused and quiet. Benson did not look at Holloway at first. He looked at Angela. "Ma'am, I was ordered not to search the Bugatti." I didn't. Ranger showed no interest in it. He alerted near Unit 17's tire marks. I'm requesting permission to run him around the cruiser. Angela turned to Pike. Is Unit 17 secured? Pike nodded. Still in the sally port, Reyes said. Proceed. Holloway moved toward the door. I'm supervising. Benson finally looked at him. No, you're not. Holloway's face flushed. That's my vehicle, and he's my dog, Angela said. Officer Holloway stays here. Pike stepped in front of the hallway entrance. For the first time, Holloway was blocked inside his own station. Benson led Ranger into the sally port. Angela, Reyes, Fields, Pike, Carter, and Maya followed at a controlled distance. Maya stood near the doorway, arms folded loosely, watching. The cruiser sat under fluorescent lights. Wet streaks still ran down the sides. Holloway's trunk was closed. Benson gave Ranger the command. The dog circled the front bumper, moved past the passenger door, sniffed along the rear quarter panel, and stopped at the trunk. His body stiffened. Then he barked. Once, twice. Then, he lifted one paw and scratched hard at the trunk seam. Carter looked away. Fields whispered, Damn. Benson kept his voice steady. Alert. Holloway pushed past Pike and stepped into the sally port before anyone could stop him. That dog is wrong. Ranger barked again and clawed at the trunk. Holloway's face twisted. Panic broke through his anger. He stepped toward Benson, hand going to his baton. Pull that trash dog back before it's too late. Benson moved instantly. He stepped between Holloway and Ranger, one hand tight on the leash, the other dropping to his taser. What did you just say? Benson said. Stay away from my dog, Holloway. No one moved. Holloway stared at the taser. Benson did not blink. Ranger kept barking behind him. Reyes spoke quietly. Officer Holloway, step back. Holloway did not. Angela's voice cut in. Step back now. For a long second, Holloway looked like he might choose the worst possible option. Then Carter stepped forward. Brad. Don't. The use of his first name hit harder than command. Holloway looked at Carter, then at Ranger, then at the trunk of Unit 17. He stepped back. Reyes turned to Fields. Secure the cruiser. We'll get a warrant for the trunk. Maya looked at Holloway. The man who had told her the law was standing in front of her now stood, surrounded by people who no longer looked afraid of him. Ranger barked one final time at the trunk. Maya heard it as clearly as any testimony. The dog had found the hidden thing. Now the law would have to decide whether it had the courage to open it. Holloway stood in the sally port with his back against the cruiser, and for the first time that night, nobody moved around him like he was in charge. Ranger sat a few feet from the trunk, still alert, eyes fixed on the seam. Benson kept one hand on the leash and the other near his taser. He did not look angry now. He looked ready. Angela Morris looked at Reyes. How fast can we get the warrant? Reyes already had his phone out. Fast enough. Holloway forced a laugh. For what? A dog barked at a trunk. That's all you have. Fields held up the sealed evidence bag from Hawthorne Fuel and Market. And residue near your tire marks. That could have come from anywhere. Then you won't mind us checking. Holloway looked at Pike. You're going to let them do this in your building? Pike did not move from the doorway. You brought this into my building. The words struck Holloway harder than expected. He turned to Carter. Tell them. Carter looked at him. Tell them what? That this is nonsense. That dog could have picked up anything from any scene. Carter did not answer. Holloway stepped toward him. But Benson shifted slightly, and Ranger rose to his feet. Holloway stopped. Carter's face was pale. His uniform looked too tight around his shoulders. He was young, but he had aged since the gas station. He said, I saw you open the trunk. Holloway's mouth tightened. You saw me check equipment. I saw a small bag. You saw nothing. I saw enough. Holloway leaned forward. You better think about what you're saying. Reyes looked up from his phone. That's the second intimidation warning, Officer Holloway. Holloway turned on Reyes. You people come in here acting like you own the place. Angela answered before Reyes could. No. We came in because a state investigator was handcuffed, unlawfully searched, and booked on charges that appear to be invented. Holloway pointed at Maya. She's not some innocent driver. She's been investigating us. She wanted this. Maya had been silent near the entrance to the sally port. She had watched Holloway unravel one sentence at a time. Now she stepped forward. I wanted you to follow the law. You wanted a headline. I wanted a clean stop. Holloway laughed. In that car? In this county? At midnight? Maya held his stare. Thank you for saying that in front of witnesses. His face shifted. He had done it again. Said the quiet part out loud. The part his reports always covered with phrases like suspicious behavior and officer safety. Pike looked away, but not before Maya saw the shame on his face. Reyes ended his call. Judge has approved the warrant verbally. Written copy is being transmitted. Unit 17 is locked down until the search begins. Officer Holloway, you are not to enter or touch the cruiser. Holloway crossed his arms. I'm not going anywhere. No, Reyes said. You're not. Angela turned to Fields. Secure his duty weapon. Holloway's head snapped up. Absolutely not. Fields stepped forward, cautious but firm. Officer Holloway, place your hands away from your belt. This is ridiculous. Hands away from your belt. Pike added, do it, Grant. Holloway looked at Pike, stunned by the use of his first name, then slowly moved his hands outward. Fields removed his service weapon from the holster and secured it. Holloway's face reddened, but he did not resist. Maya watched his hands after the gun was gone. They trembled once, just once. Enough. The man who had twisted her wrist and told her she picked the wrong county was beginning to understand that the county could not save him from everything. Reyes said, until we complete the search, everyone separates. No private conversations, no phone calls, except with counsel. Holloway's eyes moved toward Carter. Carter saw it and looked down. Angela noticed. Deputy Carter, you'll come with me. No, Holloway snapped. He stays with me. He's my partner. Carter looked up. I'm not your partner, he said quietly. I was assigned to ride with you. The difference mattered. Holloway stared at him. You little coward. Carter's jaw tightened, but he did not answer. Angela stepped between them. Interview room 2. Now, Carter followed her out of the sally port. Maya watched him go and felt the weight of his choice. Carter was not a hero yet. He was not clean of fear. But he had begun the hard thing. He had told the truth while the man who could hurt his career stood 10 feet away. That counted. Inside interview room 2, Carter sat with both hands flat on the table. Angela placed a recorder between them. This is not a formal deposition, she said, but it is a recorded preliminary statement. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. You can ask for counsel. I understand. Do you want counsel before speaking? Carter swallowed. No. I want to say it now before I lose my nerve. Angela pressed record. Carter gave his name, badge number, and assignment. His voice shook at first. Then it steadied. He described the Bugatti traveling under the speed limit. Maya signaling. The dispatcher confirming the registration and warning Holloway to terminate pursuit. Holloway turning off the radio. The stop at the gas station. The search. The comments about the car. The cuffs. The trunk. Angela did not interrupt except to clarify time and sequence. Then she asked, what did Officer Holloway say when you questioned the bag? Carter closed his eyes. He said he was making sure the report matched the arrest. Angela let the silence sit. Carter opened his eyes again. I should have stopped it. What stopped you? Carter looked at his hands. Fear. Of Holloway? Of him? Of the department? Of being labeled disloyal? He paused. Of losing everything before I even started. Angela's voice stayed calm. Deputy Carter, loyalty to a lie is not loyalty. He nodded once, but it did not comfort him. In the booking area, Holloway paced like a caged animal. Pike watched him from the desk. Reyes stood nearby, reviewing messages on his phone. Benson stayed with Ranger in the sally port. Fields guarded Unit 17. Maya sat in a chair near the hallway, no longer cuffed. Her property bag beside her. Her wrists throbbed. She ignored it. Holloway stopped pacing and looked at her. You think this ends with me? Maya did not answer. He smiled, trying to recover some part of himself. You don't know how this county works. Maya looked at him then. I know exactly how it works. No. You read files. That's not the same thing. I read files because people like you leave damage behind. His smile vanished. You better be careful. Maya leaned back slightly. That would have sounded more convincing before Mr. Reyes warned you twice about intimidation. Pike almost smiled. Almost. The desk printer came to life. Reyes crossed the room and pulled out the warrant transmission. He read it once, then handed it to Angela as she returned with Carter. "We're clear," he said. Angela nodded. "Open the trunk." Fields returned Holloway's cruiser keys to Pike, not Holloway. Pike walked to Unit 17, with Fields, Benson, Reyes, Angela, Carter, and Maya behind him. Holloway followed at the end, unarmed now. His steps stiff, Pike unlocked the trunk. Before he lifted it, Reyes spoke. "Photographs first." Fields photographed the trunk exterior, the latch, the surrounding area, and the K9 scratch marks near the seam. Then Pike lifted the trunk. Ranger barked immediately. Inside were standard items: cones, flares, a first aid kit, a rain jacket, spare cuffs, a tire tool, and a black nylon equipment bag pushed behind the left panel. Benson pointed. "That's where he's alerting." Fields photographed it before touching anything. Then she opened the bag. Nobody spoke. Inside were 3 small plastic bags of white powder, 2 envelopes of cash, and a folded stack of blank evidence labels. Carter looked sick. Pike whispered, "God help us." Holloway said nothing. Reyes looked at him. "Officer Holloway, do you want to explain why unlogged narcotics and blank evidence labels are in your cruiser?" Holloway's eyes darted around the sally port, searching for an ally. He found none. Maya looked at the bags, then at Holloway. She did not feel triumph. She thought of Calvin Brooks, Denise Harris, Marcus Reed, names in her notebook, people who had sat in rooms like this, while men in uniforms treated lies like paperwork. Reyes ordered the evidence sealed. Angela turned to Carter. "This is why the first lie matters." Carter nodded, his face tight with shame. Holloway finally spoke. "That's not mine." Reyes looked at the open trunk. "It was in your assigned cruiser. Someone planted it." Maya's voice was quiet. "You mean the way you planned to plant it in mine?" Holloway stared at her. The question hung in the sally port, clean and sharp. No one needed to answer. The trunk had answered enough. The open trunk changed the room without anyone touching a gavel. 3 plastic bags of white powder, 2 envelopes of cash, blank evidence labels, everything Holloway needed to create a crime after an arrest had already been made. Fields photographed each item before moving it. Benson kept Ranger back, but the dog stayed alert, eyes fixed on the trunk. Carter stood near the wall with his hands at his sides, looking as if the floor had shifted beneath him. Holloway stared at the evidence bag like he expected it to disappear. Reyes spoke first. "Officer Holloway, step away from the vehicle." Holloway did not move. Fields turned toward him. "Step away. This is my unit." "No," Reyes said. "At this point, it is evidence." The word hit Holloway hard. Evidence. Not property. Not equipment. Not a misunderstanding. Evidence. Pike looked older than he had 10 minutes earlier. He had seen bad arrests. He had seen lazy reports. He had seen deputies bend the rules and supervisors call it judgment. But this was different. This was not bending. This was manufacturing. Angela Morris looked at Maya. "Miss William, we need to move you to a secure interview room. This scene is now part of a criminal investigation." Maya nodded. Holloway heard that and laughed once, sharp and nervous. "Criminal investigation? Of me?" Reyes turned to him. "Yes." The word was simple, final. For a moment, Holloway's face went blank. Then anger rushed back in to cover the fear. "You people have no idea what you're stepping into," Angela said. "We know exactly what we're stepping into. That's why we're here." Holloway looked toward Pike. "Call Sheriff Pierce." Pike hesitated. Holloway snapped. "Call him." Pike did not pick up the phone. Reyes said, "No one from this department contacts Sheriff Pierce until we determine whether he is a witness, supervisor, or subject." Holloway's eyes narrowed. "You think the sheriff is going to let you walk in here and take over?" Angela answered. "He can explain his position when he arrives with counsel." That quieted the room. Maya watched Holloway absorb the sentence. His face did not break completely, but something inside him shifted. For 12 years, he had believed Claiborne County was a closed circle. Complaints stayed inside. Reports stayed inside. Discipline stayed inside. Men like Sheriff Randall Pierce kept the doors locked from the outside world. Tonight, the outside world had walked in. Pike turned to Fields. Secure the trunk. Evidence tape. Nobody touches Unit 17. Fields nodded and began sealing the cruiser. Benson guided Ranger away from the trunk. He paused near Holloway. Don't ever threaten my dog again. Holloway glared at him. You want to make this personal? Benson's expression stayed controlled. You already did. Reyes looked at Holloway. That's enough. Maya was taken into interview room 1. Angela sat across from her. Reyes joined them after handing Fields instructions on evidence custody. The room was small. Table, 3 chairs, a wall clock, a recorder. Maya placed her hands flat on the table. The cuff marks were clear under the lights. Angela started the recorder. Preliminary recorded statement of Maya William, Special Investigator, State Civil Rights Commission, conducted at Claiborne County Sheriff's Department. Present are Angela Morris and Assistant United States Attorney Daniel Reyes. Reyes leaned forward slightly. Miss William, start at the beginning. Keep it factual. We'll come back for detail. Maya nodded. I was driving south on Pine Hollow Parkway at approximately 11:42 p.m. I was traveling below the posted speed limit. I noticed Unit 17 behind me. When the emergency lights activated, I reduced speed, used my turn signal, and proceeded to Hawthorne Fuel and Market because it was lit and had visible cameras. Angela asked, why not stop on the shoulder? Safety. The road was dark. No houses close to the shoulder. Limited visibility. I was alone. Reyes nodded. Did you hear the dispatcher? No. I was in my vehicle, but I saw the cruiser remain close behind me even after I slowed. Did you refuse to stop? No. Did you accelerate? No. Did you possess narcotics? No. Did you threaten Officer Holloway? No. Did you identify yourself as a state investigator at the scene? No. Angela paused. Why not? Maya looked at her hands. Because if I had shown my title immediately, Officer Holloway would have changed his behavior. I needed to know how he treated someone he believed had no protection. Reyes did not interrupt. Maya continued. I am aware of how that sounds. I did not intend to create a confrontation. I intended to comply, survive the encounter, and preserve evidence if misconduct occurred. Angela asked, were you investigating Officer Holloway prior to tonight? Yes. For how long? 9 months. For what general category of conduct? Racial profiling, unlawful traffic stops, falsified reports, possible evidence tampering, and retaliation against complainants. Reyes wrote that down. Angela asked, were any of the names in your notebook related to that investigation? Yes. Calvin Brooks, Denise Harris, Marcus Reed, others. Reyes looked up. We'll need the official files secured tonight. They are already secured through the commission system, Maya said. My notebook is field reference only. Angela nodded. Good. Maya's voice stayed calm, but the pain in her wrists had become a steady pulse. She ignored it. Reyes noticed anyway. Do you need a break? No. Angela studied her. Maya, you don't have to prove toughness right now. Maya looked at her. For the first time, the professional mask slipped a little. I'm not proving toughness. I'm trying not to think about my mother waiting by the phone. Angela's face softened. Reyes waited. Maya took one breath and continued. Officer Holloway asked if the car was mine. He suggested I could not own it. He searched my purse without consent. He took my license and did not return it until you arrived. He twisted my arm during cuffing. He ignored my request for counsel. He denied or delayed medical review for the cuffs. Angela asked, did he make any statements about Claiborne County? Yes. He said I picked the wrong county to show off in. Reyes wrote, quickly. Maya added, at the station. He continued attempting to build charges. I heard him pressure Deputy Carter. I heard enough to understand he wanted a version of events that did not match what happened. Angela stopped the recorder after confirming the time. We'll do a formal statement later. For now, this preserves the essentials. Maya nodded. Outside the interview room, voices rose. Reyes stood and opened the door. Sheriff Randall Pierce had arrived. He came through the booking entrance in a navy jacket over a white dress shirt, his badge clipped to his belt. He was in his late 50s, broad, silver-haired, and used to rooms making space for him. This room did not. Pierce looked at the sealed hallway. Fields near the evidence log, Pike behind the desk, Benson with Ranger, Carter near interview room 2, and Holloway standing alone. "What the hell is going on in my station?" Pierce demanded. Angela stepped into the booking area. "Sheriff Pierce, I'm Angela Morris with the State Civil Rights Commission." Pierce barely looked at her credentials. "I know who you are. Why is my officer being treated like a suspect?" Reyes stepped beside Angela. "Because evidence recovered from his assigned cruiser suggests possible evidence tampering and civil rights violations." Pierce's eyes moved to Holloway. Holloway spoke quickly. "They're twisting it. She's commission. She set me up." Pierce looked toward Maya through the open door. For a second, Maya saw recognition, not of her face, of the danger she represented. Pierce turned back to Reyes. "This can be handled internally." "No," Reyes said. "It can't." Pierce's jaw tightened. "You're in my county." Reyes closed his folder. "And we're in the United States." The room went silent. Maya stepped into the doorway, standing beside Angela. Pierce looked at her fully now. "Maya William," he said. "Yes, you should have identified yourself." Maya held his gaze. "Your officer should have obeyed the dispatcher." Pierce did not answer. Carter looked down at the floor, then back up. He had seen enough powerful men speak in circles. He knew what Pierce was doing, moving the focus away from Holloway, moving it toward Maya, making her responsible for the misconduct committed against her. Not this time. Carter stepped forward. "Sheriff." Pierce turned. "Not now, Carter." "Yes, sir." "Now." Holloway stared at him. Carter's voice shook once, then steadied. "She didn't run." Dispatch cleared the plate. Officer Holloway turned off the radio. He opened his trunk after the search came up empty. "He told me he was making the report match the arrest." Pierce's face hardened. "Deputy, you need to think carefully." Carter nodded. "I am." Maya watched him. In that moment, Carter crossed a line he could never uncross. Not because he betrayed the department, but because he stopped betraying the truth. Angela turned to Pierce. "Sheriff, from this point forward, all records involving Officer Holloway's stops, complaints, use of force reports, K-9 calls, and evidence submissions are to be preserved." Pierce said nothing. Reyes added, "And if a single file disappears, we will know where to start." Holloway looked at Pierce, waiting for rescue. Pierce did not look back at him. That was when Holloway understood the first rule of men like Pierce. They protected power, not people, and Holloway had just become a liability. Holloway watched Sheriff Pierce look away from him. That single glance told him more than any official statement could have. Pierce was not coming to save him. Not yet. Not in front of Angela Morris. Not in front of Daniel Reyes. Not with the trunk of Unit 17 sealed as evidence, and Ranger still sitting near the Sally Port, like a witness who had already taken the stand. Holloway's face hardened. If Pierce would not save him, he needed someone else. His eyes moved to Carter. Carter was still standing near interview room 2. Shoulders tense. Report already handed over to Angela. He looked shaken, but not broken. That made him dangerous. A scared man could be controlled. A guilty man could be controlled. But a man who had just told the truth in front of witnesses was harder to pull back. Holloway needed to get him alone. Pierce spoke to Reyes, forcing his voice into a calmer tone. "I want my county attorney present before any further records are requested." Reyes nodded. "You can call counsel, but evidence preservation begins now. This department has procedures, and federal law has consequences." Pierce's jaw tightened. Angela turned toward Pike. "Sergeant, place Officer Holloway in an administrative holding room. He is not to speak privately with any witness." Holloway snapped. "Administrative holding? I'm not some suspect off the street." Reyes looked at him. "Then, stop acting like one." Holloway took a step toward him, but Fields moved slightly, just enough to remind him his weapon was gone. Pike pointed down the hall. "Room 3. Holloway looked at Carter again. "Carter, with me?" "No." Angela said. Holloway ignored her. I said, with me. Carter did not move. Pierce turned to Carter. Deputy, go write a complete internal statement. Angela stepped in. He already gave a preliminary statement to the commission. Pierce's eyes narrowed. I didn't say commission statement. I said internal. Reyes said. Any internal statement happens under preservation protocols and without Officer Holloway present. Pierce looked at Reyes like he wanted to argue, but the open trunk had changed the math. So had Carter's testimony. So had Maya's title. He said nothing. Holloway walked toward room 3 under Fields' watch. As he passed Carter, he leaned close and spoke low. You better pray your paperwork matches mine. Carter stiffened. Reyes heard enough. Officer Holloway. Holloway kept walking. I didn't say anything. You did. Fields opened room 3 and stood aside. Holloway entered, but before the door shut, he looked back at Carter. The look was clear. This is not over. The door closed. For a moment, the station was quiet. Then Carter exhaled like he had been holding his breath since Pine Hollow Parkway. Maya saw it. She knew that kind of fear. It was not the fear of being hurt in the moment. It was the fear of what came after. The phone calls, the rumors, the cold shoulders, the sudden complaints about performance, the career that died slowly because one person refused to lie quickly. Angela spoke to Carter. Deputy, we need a full written statement now. Not tomorrow. Not after you talk to anyone. Now. Carter nodded. Pike gave him a clean report form and led him to a small report room beside booking. Angela followed. Maya stayed near the doorway with Reyes. Pierce watched all of it with controlled anger. This is moving too fast, Pierce said. Reyes answered. No, Sheriff. It's been moving too slowly for years. Pierce looked at Maya. You've had a file on my department for 9 months? Maya said. Yes. And you never had the courtesy to notify me? The complaints suggested notification would compromise the investigation. Pierce smiled without warmth. Complaints from people who didn't like being stopped. Maya held his gaze. Complaints from citizens who said your deputies stopped them without cause, searched them without consent, and threatened them when they asked for badge numbers. Pierce stepped closer. Careful, Miss William. Reyes moved half a step forward. Sheriff, I would recommend not threatening a state investigator in front of a federal prosecutor. Pierce looked at him, then stepped back. Inside the report room, Carter sat at a narrow desk under a buzzing light. A pen lay in front of him. The blank form looked heavier than it should have. Angela stood by the door. Take your time, she said. But be precise. Carter nodded. He wrote his name, badge number, unit assignment, time of shift. Then he stopped. His hand shook. Angela waited. Carter looked up. If I write this, my career here is over. Angela did not lie to him. It may be. He swallowed. My fiancé and I just put money down on a house. Angela said nothing. My dad still tells everyone at church I'm a deputy. He keeps a picture of me in uniform on his fridge. Angela's voice softened. Then write something he can keep being proud of. Carter looked back at the paper. He began. At approximately 2,342 hours, Unit 17 observed a black Bugatti W16 Mistral traveling on Pine Hollow Parkway. The vehicle was not speeding. The vehicle was not swerving. The driver did not commit any traffic violation that I observed. He paused, then continued. Officer Holloway stated that the driver did not belong in that vehicle. Officer Holloway activated emergency lights. The driver slowed, signaled, and proceeded toward Hawthorne Fuel and Market. Carter's breathing steadied as the truth found structure. Dispatcher Elena Ruiz advised over radio that the vehicle was legally registered, the owner had no criminal record, and pursuit should be terminated due to dangerous speed. Officer Holloway then turned off the patrol radio and said, "Dispatch isn't here. I decide." Carter stopped again. He knew there was no coming back from that sentence. Angela did not speak. He wrote it anyway. In room 3, Holloway paced. Fields stood outside the door. She had been instructed not to let anyone in. Holloway knew it. He also knew old buildings had old habits. He knocked once. Fields opened the door a crack. "What?" "I need to use the restroom." "You can wait." "I said I need the restroom." Fields looked at him. "You're not walking around alone." "Then escort me." She hesitated. That was all he needed. A minute later, Fields walked him down the hall. Holloway moved slowly, like a man under control. But as they passed the report room, he saw Carter through the narrow window, writing. Angela had stepped slightly aside to answer a call from Reyes. Holloway stopped. Fields said, "Keep moving." Holloway raised his voice just enough for Carter to hear. "Hope you're writing carefully, Carter." Carter looked up. Fields grabbed Holloway's arm. "Move." Holloway jerked free. "Don't touch me." Angela stepped into the hallway. "Get him back in the room." Holloway looked through the window at Carter. "You signed the wrong thing. And tomorrow I report that you took cash at the scene to help her. You understand me? I'll say you were the one trying to cut her loose because you got paid." Carter froze. Angela's eyes flashed. "Officer Holloway, stop talking." But Holloway was already too far gone. "You think they'll protect you? They'll use you, rookie. Then they'll drop you. Sign what I tell you to sign, and this can still be fixed." Maya stepped into the hallway behind Reyes. She had heard enough. Carter sat frozen with the pen in his hand. Holloway pointed toward him. "You know what I can do to you." Maya spoke before anyone else could. "Deputy Carter." Carter turned his eyes to her. Her voice was steady. "The first lie is always the leash. Once you sign it, he owns you." Holloway spun toward her. "Shut up." Maya did not move. "If you lie for him tonight," she continued, "you will spend the rest of your life wondering when he will pull that leash tight." Carter looked down at his half-finished statement. His hand was still shaking. Then he turned the page slightly so Angela could see what he had written. "I'm not signing his lie," Carter said. Holloway's face went red. Fields stepped between him and the report room. "Back, now." Reyes's voice was low. That was witness intimidation in front of multiple witnesses. Holloway looked around. Angela, Reyes, Fields, Pike, Maya, all watching, all hearing. For once, there was no dead radio, no dark roadside, no report he could write first. His own mouth had done the damage. Fields guided him back toward room 3. This time, Holloway did not resist. Carter stayed seated. He stared at the paper for several seconds before he began writing again. "Officer Holloway later threatened to accuse me of accepting a bribe if I did not support his version of events," he wrote slowly, clearly. Then he signed his name at the bottom. Deputy Liam Carter. When he finished, he did not look relieved. He looked wounded. Angela took the statement carefully, as if it were fragile. Maya stood in the doorway. Carter looked at her. "I should have done it sooner," Maya answered. "Most people should. What matters is what you do when you finally see the line." Carter nodded once. Down the hall, Holloway sat alone in room 3, separated from his weapon, his cruiser, his report, and now his witness. For 12 years, he had survived by making other people carry pieces of his lies. Tonight, one of them had put the lie down, and Holloway could feel the weight returning to him. The signed statement sat in Angela Morris's folder, but its weight filled the whole station. Deputy Liam Carter had crossed the line. Not the line Holloway believed in. Not the blue wall. Not the unwritten rule that said a bad report was better than a public scandal. Carter had crossed back toward the oath. He stayed seated in the report room after signing, hands folded in front of him, eyes fixed on the table. Angela did not rush him. She sealed the statement in an evidence envelope, wrote the time across the flap, and signed over the seal. "Deputy Carter," she said, "from this point forward, do not discuss your statement with anyone from this department unless counsel is present." Carter nodded. "Yes, ma'am. If anyone contacts you, pressures you, threatens you, or asks you to revise anything, you call me directly." She handed him a card. Carter took it with both hands. Outside the room, the booking area had changed. Men who had ignored Holloway for years were now watching every movement. Sergeant Pike stood behind the desk, quiet and tense. Deputy Fields logged the evidence from Unit 17. Benson remained with Ranger near the Sally port. Reyes was on the phone, speaking in short, controlled sentences. Maya sat in a chair near the interview room, her property bag beside her. Her wrists had been photographed. Her preliminary statement was recorded. Her mother had been told she was alive, but the night was not over. Not even close. Reyes ended his call and walked toward Angela. Federal duty judge wants the cruiser secured under joint custody. We'll move it to the Atlanta evidence facility before sunrise. Angela nodded. Good. Bugatti? Unit 12 is still holding the gas station. State forensic techs are on the way. Manufacturer security team has been notified. Reyes glanced toward Maya. We need confirmation on the valet mode data. Maya said. Bugatti will require owner verification and legal request. I can authorize access to my side, but if you want server-level records, you'll need the proper order. Reyes nodded. Already in motion. Holloway heard that from room 3. The door was closed, but not soundproof. He stood near the small window, face tight, listening to pieces of his life being removed from his control. Sheriff Pierce stood near the front desk, speaking quietly into his phone. He had been told not to contact witnesses. He had been told to preserve records. He had been told the federal government was now involved. He did not like being told anything. When he ended the call, he looked at Pike. I want internal affairs notified. Pike glanced at Reyes. Reyes answered before Pike could. Internal affairs can be notified after records are frozen. Pierce's eyes narrowed. You don't dictate my department's internal process. No, Reyes said. I dictate federal evidence preservation when civil rights violations are suspected. Pierce stepped closer. You're making a mistake turning one traffic stop into a war. Maya stood. It was not one traffic stop. Pierce looked at her. She continued. You know that. So does everyone in this building. Pike's eyes dropped. Benson looked away. Carter, standing now in the report room doorway, did not. Pierce said. You're very confident for someone who was in cuffs an hour ago. Maya replied. Being in cuffs does not make a person wrong. Reyes stepped between them slightly. Sheriff, we are requesting immediate preservation of the following. All traffic stop reports involving Officer Holloway for the past 5 years. All K-9 deployment records connected to him. All body camera logs. All citizen complaints. All internal review notes. All evidence submissions. And all communications between command staff regarding complaints against him. Pierce did not answer at first. Then he laughed once. 5 years? Angela said. We can make it 7. Pierce stopped laughing. Pike moved to the records terminal behind the desk. I'll start the preservation lock. Pierce turned sharply. Sergeant. Pika froze. The room watched him. Pike was not a young man. He had a mortgage nearly paid off, a bad knee, and a retirement date circled on a calendar at home. He had survived in Claiborne County by knowing when to bend and when to be blind. But tonight, blindness had a cost. He looked at Holloway's closed door, then at Carter, then at Maya's wrists. Finally, he looked at Pierce. I'm starting the preservation lock, Sheriff. Pierce's face hardened. You understand what you're doing? Pike sat at the terminal. Yes, sir. I think I finally do. Keys clicked. The sound was small, but it carried. Records were being frozen. Files that had once been easy to move, rename, misclassify, or bury were now being locked under outside review. Holloway hit the door from inside room 3. You can't do that. Fields turned toward the door. Sit down, Holloway. He hit it again. Pierce! The sheriff did not move. Reyes looked at Fields. Open the door. Fields opened it, keeping one hand ready. Holloway stood there, breathing hard. They're stealing department records, Reyes said. They're preserving them. Holloway pointed at Pike. He has no authority. Pike turned from the computer. I have access. That's not the same thing. Angela looked at Holloway. Officer Holloway, do not interfere. Holloway looked to Pierce. Sheriff, say something. Pierce stared at him. There was a long pause. Then Pierce said, Go back in the room, Grant. Holloway's face changed. The abandonment was public now. He looked at Pierce like a man watching a bridge burn from the wrong side. You told me you'd handle it. The room went still. Pierce's expression sharpened. Watch your mouth. Holloway realized too late what he had said. Reyes wrote it down. Angela saw Pierce notice. Maya saw both men understand the same thing. Their shared silence had begun to betray them. Fields closed the door again. This time, Holloway did not hit it. Pike continued working. I'm seeing multiple complaint entries marked clerical. Same wording. Same supervisor review code. Angela walked behind the desk. Print the index. Pike clicked. Printing. The printer began producing page after page. Names appeared. Calvin Brooks, Denise Harris, Marcus Reed, Arthur Bell, Janice Coleman, Terrence Ward. Dates. Stops. Complaints. Dismissals. Reclassifications. Maya watched the pages stack up. These were not just records. These were nights people went home shaken. Jobs missed. Children frightened. Savings spent on attorneys. Reputations damaged by reports that made lies look official. Carter picked up one printed page and read silently. His face tightened. I remember this one, he said. Angela turned. Which? Denise Harris. She came to the station during my second week. She kept asking who she could talk to. Someone told me not to log it as a complaint because she was just upset. Pike closed his eyes. Pierce said, "That is enough." Reyes looked at him. "No, Sheriff. This is the beginning." A phone rang at the front desk. Pike answered, "Claiborne Sheriff's Department." He listened, then looked at Reyes. "Atlanta evidence transport is 20 minutes out." Reyes nodded. Another call came in on Pike's cell. He checked the screen and went still. Pierce saw it. "Who is it?" Pike looked at Angela. "Elena Ruiz," Angela said. "Put it on, speaker," Pike answered. "Elena, you're on speaker with state and federal investigators present." Elena's voice came through, tense but clear. "Sergeant," I pulled the dispatch recording. Unit 17's radio didn't cut out. It was manually powered down from inside the vehicle. The system logged it. Reyes looked at Angela. Angela wrote it down. Elena continued. "And there's more. After the radio went dead, someone from the sheriff's admin office accessed the incident screen and tried to change the pursuit status from terminated, requested, to active, felony, evasion." Pierce's face went still. Reyes asked, "Can you identify the login?" Elena hesitated. Then she said, "It was Sheriff Pierce's administrative login." Nobody spoke. Pierce looked at the phone as if it had betrayed him. Maya did not move. Carter stared at the floor. Pike slowly set his hand flat on the desk. Reyes's voice stayed calm. "Miss Ruiz, preserve that log immediately. Do not discuss it with anyone else. We will contact you directly." "Yes, sir," Elena said. The call ended. Pierce straightened his jacket. "That login is used by staff." Reyes looked at him. "Then, we'll find out which staff member was willing to alter a record during an active civil rights investigation." Pierce did not answer. At that moment, the front doors opened again. 2 federal agents entered, followed by a state forensic technician carrying equipment cases. The station that had spent years swallowing complaints was now filling with people who took records out into the light. Maya looked toward room 3. Holloway sat behind the glass, no longer pacing. He had heard enough to know the damage had spread beyond him. Angela gathered the printed complaint index. Reyes turned to Maya. "Miss William, your 9-month investigation just became a federal case." Maya looked at the names on the pages. "No," she said quietly. "It always was. Tonight, it finally became visible." Carter stood beside her, silent. Pike kept printing. Benson rested one hand on Ranger's harness, and Sheriff Randall Pierce, who had walked in expecting to control the room, now stood in his own station while every hidden door began to open. By sunrise, Claiborne County had learned how fast a secret could outrun a siren. The first story appeared at 6:18 a.m. on a local news site. State investigator detained after late-night supercar pursuit. The headline was wrong before the first paragraph began. By 7 a.m., 3 radio hosts were repeating it. By 8:30, a television van was parked outside the Claiborne County Sheriff's Department. By 9:15, Maya Williams' name was moving across social media beside a photo of her Bugatti taken from across the gas station lot. The photo showed the car. It did not show Holloway's hand on his holster. It did not show Maya's wrists in cuffs. It did not show the radio being turned off. That was how lies worked best. They did not need the whole picture. They only needed the piece that made people comfortable, Maya sat at her mother's kitchen table in Macon, both hands wrapped around a mug of black coffee she had not touched. Evelyn Williams stood at the stove, stirring grits because she needed something to do with her hands. She had not slept. Her gray hair was pulled back. Her robe was tied tight. The television was off. But Maya's phone kept lighting up on the table. Unknown numbers, reporters, commissioned staff, friends from law school, people who cared, people who wanted gossip, people who wanted a quote before they understood the wound. Evelyn set a plate in front of her daughter. "Eat. I'm not hungry." "I didn't ask." Maya looked up. Evelyn pointed to the plate. "You were raised in this house. You know the rule. Trouble can sit at the table, but it does not get to starve you." Maya almost smiled. Almost. She picked up the fork and took one small bite. Evelyn sat across from her. Her eyes moved to Maya's wrists. The bruises had darkened overnight. Red had turned purple around the edges. "They hurt?" "Yes." "Good." Maya looked at her. Evelyn's face stayed firm. Pain tells the truth before people do. Maya set the fork down. "Mama." "No. Don't mama me. I saw my child walk into my kitchen at 4 in the morning with police marks on her wrists. I am allowed one hard sentence before breakfast." Maya looked down. Evelyn reached across the table and covered her hand. Then the anger left her voice. "I'm glad you came home." For a moment, Maya was not a state investigator. She was not a federal liaison. She was not the woman whose Bugatti had become the county's favorite accusation. She was a daughter sitting in the kitchen where she had done homework, cried over rejection letters, and listened to her father laugh under the hood of an old truck in the garage. "I almost called you from the road," Maya said. "I know. I didn't want you scared." Evelyn gave her a tired look. "Baby, I have been black in America for 62 years. Fear doesn't wait for permission." Maya swallowed. Her phone lit up again. This time, it was Angela Morris. Maya answered on speaker. "Angela, you need to see what Pierce's people are pushing. I've seen enough headlines. There's more. A county spokesperson is claiming you refused to identify yourself and escalated the encounter by delaying the stop." Evelyn's hand tightened on the coffee mug. Maya stayed quiet. Angela continued. "They're also implying the Bugatti was used to provoke attention. Holloway's attorney is already calling it a political ambush." Maya closed her eyes once. Holloway had been separated from his weapon. Unit 17 had been sealed. Carter had signed a truthful statement. Elena had preserved the dispatch log. Ranger had alerted on the trunk. Evidence had been found. Still, the public story was becoming something else. That was the second arrest, the one that happened after the handcuffs came off. Reputation in a cage. Angela said, "We can respond with a statement." "No," Maya said. Evelyn looked at her. "No." Maya opened her eyes. "Not yet." Angela was silent for a second. "Maya, they're shaping the public narrative. Let them." "Maya, if we answer too early, we spend the whole day arguing over their language. Let Reyes secure the server request. Let the records freeze. Let them say enough to expose themselves." Angela exhaled. "You are very calm for someone being dragged on television." "I'm not calm." Evelyn looked at her daughter and knew that was true. Maya's voice remained steady. "I'm just not giving them my anger to edit," Angela said. "Reyes wants you in Atlanta by noon. Commission office. Secure conference room. We'll prep for the federal complaint and the manufacturer request. I'll be there." The call ended. Evelyn stood and turned on the small television near the counter. Maya said, "Mama, don't." Evelyn pressed the remote anyway. A local anchor appeared on screen beside an image of Maya's Bugatti. Questions this morning after a high-ranking state civil rights investigator was briefly detained during what Claiborne County officials describe as a dangerous late-night traffic incident involving a rare luxury fighter vehicle. Evelyn muted the television. "Dangerous," she said. Maya stared at the screen. The Bugatti filled the background. Beautiful, expensive, easy to resent. Not a word about the dispatcher. Not a word about the dead radio. Not a word about Holloway's trunk. Evelyn turned the television off. "That car makes people forget you're somebody's child." Maya looked toward the hallway, where an old framed photo of Henry William hung crooked on the wall. In the picture, He wore a work shirt with his name stitched over the pocket. His smile was wide. His hands were black with grease. He would hate this, Maya said. He would hate what they did to you. He would hate that his dream car is the thing they're using to make me look guilty. Evelyn leaned against the counter. Your father loved that car before he ever knew money would touch it. To him, it was craftsmanship, a machine built by hands and minds. Don't let small people turn beauty into shame. Maya said nothing. Evelyn walked back to the table and sat. Listen to me. Justice is not always fair in the beginning. Sometimes it has to crawl through the mud before it can stand in the light. Maya had heard her mother say many things over the years. Prayers, warnings, corrections, comfort. But that sentence settled differently, because Maya was tired. Tired of being calm so other people could not call her angry. Tired of being excellent so other people could not call her unqualified. Tired of holding proof in both hands while the world debated whether her pain was polite enough to believe. Her eyes filled before she could stop them. Evelyn saw and did not move too quickly. She knew pride could be as tender as a bruise. Maya wiped one tear with the back of her hand. I hate that, I cried. I don't, Evelyn said. Maya gave a broken laugh. You never do. Crying means the stone is still human. Maya looked at her mother. Evelyn's voice softened. You did what you had to do last night. But today will be different. Last night, you survived Holloway. Today, you survived the people who want to make his behavior your fault. Maya nodded slowly. Her phone lit up again. This time it was a message from Daniel Reyes. Manufacturer preservation request submitted. Bugatti legal team responding. Do not engage media. A second message followed. Carter is under protection protocol. Elena Ruiz too. Benson filed formal K-9 report. Maya read it twice. Carter, Elena, Benson. The truth had witnesses now. Not enough for justice, but enough for direction. At 11:48 a.m., Maya walked into the State Civil Rights Commission office in Atlanta, wearing a navy suit, flat shoes, and no jewelry, except her father's old watch. The bruises on her wrists were not hidden. She could have covered them with makeup. She chose not to. Angela met her at the secure conference room door. Ready? No, Maya said. Angela's expression tightened. Maya looked past her toward the room where Reyes, 2 commission attorneys, and a digital forensics specialist waited. Ready isn't required. Angela stepped aside. Inside, the table was covered with files from Claiborne County, complaint summaries, dispatch logs, evidence sheets, printed screenshots of posts calling Maya spoiled, reckless, arrogant, dishonest. Maya did not sit right away. She looked at the names. Calvin Brooks, Denise Harris, Marcus Reed, Arthur Bell, Yanis Coleman, Terrence Ward. People who had been called difficult before they were believed. People who had gone home with invisible bruises and official lies following them. Maya touched the back of a chair. This was never about my car, she said. Reyes looked up. No. Angela closed the door behind them. Maya sat. Then let's make sure the case isn't either. By late afternoon, Claiborne County's story was still spreading. But beneath it, quietly and without cameras, the real story was taking shape. Server requests, witness protection notices, evidence transfers, frozen records, signed statements, a dog's alert, a dead radio log, and somewhere inside Bugatti's secured system, a file from the night before waited to be released. Holloway thought mud would bury Maya. He had forgotten something every older soul in her mother's kitchen already knew. Mud does not only bury, sometimes it preserves footprints. The next morning, courtroom 6B filled even earlier than before. Nobody said it out loud, but everyone knew the case had changed after the Bugatti footage. Before the video, Grant Holloway still had room to hide behind language, procedure, fear, split-second judgment, officer safety. After the video, all that remained was a man opening his own trunk and pulling out the lie he intended to plant. Maya Williams sat behind the prosecution table with Angela Morris. She wore the same father's watch on her wrist. Her hands were folded. Her face was calm, but her chest felt heavy, not with doubt, with the weight of every name that had waited years for this room. Calvin Brooks, Denise Harris, Marcus Reed, Arthur Bell, Janice Coleman, Terrence Ward, people who had gone home from traffic stops with damage nobody photographed, people who had tried to complain and been told they were confused, emotional, hostile, or exaggerating. Today, their stories were no longer separate. They were a pattern. Grant Holloway entered with his attorney, Martin Voss, and did not look toward the gallery. His suit was wrinkled. His face was pale. He sat down slowly, like a man already hearing a sentence no judge had spoken yet. Voss leaned close and whispered something. Holloway did not respond. Judge Rebecca Whitman entered at 9:04 a.m. All rise. The courtroom stood. When everyone sat, the judge looked at the jury box. Ladies and gentlemen, we will proceed with the remaining evidence and closing arguments. You will decide this case on the law and the evidence, not sympathy, speculation, or public opinion. Her eyes moved briefly toward the gallery. The room stayed silent. Daniel Reyes called the final witnesses. Calvin Brooks testified first. He was a retired Army sergeant, 64 years old, with a cane beside his chair and a voice that did not shake. He told the jury he had been stopped by Holloway 2 years earlier after leaving a veterans fundraiser. He had been wearing his dress jacket. His granddaughter had been asleep in the back seat. Holloway said, "I smelled like marijuana," Calvin said. "I told him I didn't smoke. I told him my granddaughter had asthma, and I wouldn't even let folks smoke near my house." "What happened next?" Reyes asked. "He pulled me out of the car, put me on the ground. My granddaughter woke up crying. He searched the car and said he found residue in the console." "Was it yours?" "No, sir." "What happened to the charge?" "Dropped 6 months later, but not before I paid a lawyer more than I had saved for that child's college fund." Calvin turned slightly toward Holloway. "You didn't just stop me. You taught my granddaughter to be afraid of flashing lights." Holloway stared down. Denise Harris came next. She was a high school English teacher. She spoke clearly, like someone used to holding a room without raising her voice. "Holloway stopped me after a parent-teacher conference," she said. "He claimed I rolled through a stop sign. I knew I hadn't. When I asked for his badge number, he told me, 'Smart women should know when to be quiet.'" Maya's hands tightened under the table. Denise continued. "He searched my bag. He made me stand outside in the cold. He told another deputy I had an attitude problem. I filed a complaint the next morning. 3 weeks later, the complaint was marked as a clerical misunderstanding." Reyes asked. "Did anyone from the department follow up with you?" "No." "Did Sheriff Pierce's office contact you?" "No." Denise looked at the jury. "I taught students for 28 years that words matter. Then I watched a police department use words to erase what happened to me." Marcus Reed testified last. He owned a small auto repair shop in Claiborne County. He had rough hands, a tired face, and the anger of a man who had spent years swallowing it. "Holloway stopped me with cash from my shop," Marcus said. "I had invoices, receipts, everything. He said drug dealers carry paperwork too." "What did that stop cost you?" Reyes asked. "My commercial insurance went up. 2 fleet customers left. My wife and I almost lost the shop." Marcus looked at Holloway. "You knew I wasn't a criminal. You just knew I didn't have enough money to fight you fast." When Marcus stepped down, the courtroom felt different. The Bugatti video had shown what Holloway did to Maya. The witnesses showed why he believed he could. Reyes rested. Voss called no witnesses. That decision said more than an argument could. Closing statements began after lunch. Voss stood first. He tried to repair what the video had broken. "Officer Holloway was imperfect," he said. "He used poor judgment. He made assumptions. But poor judgment is not a federal crime." He walked in front of the jury box. "The government wants you to see a villain. But police work is pressure. It is fear. It is uncertainty. We must be careful before we criminalize an officer for making a mistake in a tense moment." Maya watched the jurors. Some took notes. Most did not. Voss finished quietly. "Do not let politics decide a man's life." Then Reyes stood. He carried no stack of papers, only one folder. "This case is not about politics," he said. "It is about power." He turned toward Holloway. Grant Holloway had power on Pine Hollow Parkway. He had the badge. The gun, the cruiser, the radio, the report form, and the confidence that Claiborne County would believe him before it believed the woman he handcuffed. Reyes faced the jury again. He turned off the radio. He ignored the dispatcher. He searched without cause. He took a bag from his trunk. He threatened a deputy. He helped create a false report. And when questioned, he asked all of you to call it a mistake. Reyes opened the folder and lifted one page. Calvin Brooks was not a mistake. Denise Harris was not a mistake. Marcus Reed was not a mistake. Maya William was not a mistake. His voice stayed controlled. A mistake is a wrong turn. This was a road he drove for years. The room was silent. Reyes continued. A badge is not a crown. It is not permission. It is not a shield for prejudice. It is a public trust. When an officer uses that trust to hunt the citizens he swore to protect, the law must answer. He looked at the jury. Find him guilty. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Maya waited in a side room with Angela, Reyes, Carter, Elena, and Benson. Nobody spoke much. Carter drank 3 cups of coffee and did not finish any of them. Elena kept twisting a tissue in her hands. Benson sat with his arms crossed, eyes on the floor. Maya thought of her mother's kitchen. Justice is not always fair in the beginning. Sometimes it has to crawl through the mud before it can stand in the light. At 6:37 p.m., the bailiff appeared. We have a verdict. The courtroom filled again. Holloway stood beside Voss. His hands shook at his sides. The jury forewoman rose. On the charge of civil rights violation under color of law, guilty. On evidence tampering, guilty. On obstruction of justice, guilty. On false imprisonment, guilty. On aggravated assault, guilty. On witness intimidation, guilty. Holloway closed his eyes. Voss placed a hand on his arm, but Holloway pulled away. Judge Whitman ordered him remanded pending sentencing. As federal marshals approached, Holloway looked back once, not at Maya, at Sheriff Pierce, seated near the rear of the courtroom with his own attorney beside him. Pierce did not meet his eyes. The cuffs clicked around Holloway's wrists. Maya heard the sound clearly. She did not smile. Some sounds were too heavy for celebration. 2 months later, sentencing brought the victims back again. Judge Whitman listened to every statement. She listened to Calvin speak of his granddaughter, Denise speak of dignity, Marcus speak of his shop, Carter speak of shame and the cost of silence. Then Maya stood. She walked to the podium and looked at the judge. Not Holloway. Your Honor, Officer Holloway did not only assault me, he assaulted trust. He made people afraid of the very uniform their taxes paid for. He believed the dark would protect him. He believed silence would protect him. He believed paperwork would protect him. She paused. But truth keeps records too. Holloway sat at the defense table, already diminished. Maya continued, I am not asking for vengeance. I am asking for a sentence that tells every officer in this country that a badge is a promise, not a weapon. Judge Whitman sentenced Grant Holloway to 20 years in federal prison. He was permanently barred from law enforcement. His pension was forfeited to a restitution fund for victims. Sheriff Randall Pierce and 2 senior officials were later indicted for obstruction, conspiracy, and falsification of records. 6 months later, Claiborne County held its first public meeting of the new Civilian Oversight Board. Maya attended with her mother. She did not drive the Bugatti. She drove her father's old sedan, the one he had kept running long after everyone told him to sell it. Evelyn sat beside her, purse in her lap, church hat pinned neatly. Outside the county building, a little black girl stood with her grandmother as a patrol car passed slowly down the street. The girl watched it, then looked at Maya. Are they supposed to protect us too? Maya knelt so they were eye to eye. Yes, she said. And when they forget, we remind them with the truth. The girl nodded like that made sense. Maybe one day, it would. Later that evening, Maya drove alone down Pine Hollow Parkway. The Bugatti moved smoothly beneath the clear Georgia sky. No sirens followed. No lights filled her mirrors. No voice ordered her out. She passed Hawthorne Fuel and Market and kept going. The road was just a road again. Not completely healed, not innocent, but open. And for the first time since that night, Maya let the engine breathe. The The lesson from Maya Williams' story is simple, but powerful. Truth may be delayed, buried, mocked, or threatened, but it does not disappear. Power can silence a radio, twist a report, and frighten witnesses, but it cannot erase every record. Real justice requires courage, patience, and people willing to stand up when silence would be easier. A badge should never be a weapon against the vulnerable. It should be a promise to protect them. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. Your time, your attention, and your heart mean more than words can say. If you have any thoughts about the way this story was told, please leave your feedback in the comments. Your suggestions help this channel improve every day. And if you have a powerful true story, a meaningful life lesson, or an unforgettable experience you believe should be shared, please send it to the channel. Your story might become the next one that inspires someone else to believe in justice again. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.